Do you remember how exciting it was to watch kickoff returners and punt returners taking it to the house on some of the most amazing special teams plays? I'm so glad we still have punt returns in football, but before the NFL changed the kickoff rules, there were some kick returners who made huge impacts to the game and made that third side of the football and special teams a critical part of the strategy. I mean, sure, there are still some decent kick returners with the new rule. Cardinals kickoff returner DJ Dallas was the first one under the new kickoff rule to take the kickoff 96 yards for a touchdown against the Bills earlier this season. But the NFL saw only 6 other returns for touchdowns in the 2024 season and left fans wanting more of the old days where there was excitement in kickoff returns. But for those of you who don't remember those flashy, speedy, and exciting kick returners, today we're going to highlight the top 5 best kick returners in NFL history. No matter if you've got years of fandom under your belt or are just stepping into the NFL bandwagon as the postseason picks up steam, you're in for some fun. We're highlighting those legendary players who could flip a team's field position or the momentum of a team in a matter of seconds. These players are the ones that make you not want to miss the kickoffs and leaving you with instant regret if you didn't make it back to your seat in time for the second half kickoff or even the opening kickoff. I think we all know who we're talking about for that one. Don't know what I'm talking about? Well, you're in for a treat because the top 2 on our list were the best to ever do it in the NFL, so let's hit it off. But before we get into the top 5, I want to highlight some of the players that were so close to making the list and our honorable mentions. These guys were flashy, shifty, and very hard to tackle in open space. Travis Williams from the Green Bay Packers, primetime Deion Sanders, Eric Metcalf primarily from the Cleveland Browns, and Vaisika Hema from the Cardinals and Eagles. Travis Williams holds the all-time NFL record for the highest single-season kick return average of 41.1 yards set back in 1967 with the Packers on their way to winning the very first Super Bowl ever played. Before coaching and mentoring football players, Deion Sanders was the jack of all trades when it came to football. He played cornerback, receiver, and even kick returner. In 1992, while playing for the Atlanta Falcons, Deion Sanders led the league in kickoff return yards with 1,067 yards, average yards per return at 26.7 yards, and return touchdowns at 2. I know every Browns fan loves Josh Cribbs and Eric Metcalf, but we picked Eric Metcalf as the honorable mention because of his longevity. In 13 seasons with the Browns and 6 other teams, he returned 10 punts and 2 kickoffs for touchdowns. And the last honorable mention goes to explosive returner Vaisika Hema. In his first 2 seasons in 1986 and 1987 while playing for the then St. Louis Cardinals, Sika Hema led the league in punt return yards with 522 yards and 550 yards. But that's not why he's memorable. He is memorable because of this awesome touchdown celebration while playing for the Eagles back in 1992. He took this punt from legendary punter Sean Landeta 87 yards to the house and then proceeded to uppercut the Giants' goalpost like a punching bag. I absolutely love this play back in the day. Everything from Landeta's single bar face mask to the Giants and Eagles starter jackets was just awesome and brings back such great memories. Okay, now that the honorable mentions are out of the way, let's get to the list and start off right at number 5. Number 5, Dave Meggett, New York Giants, New England Patriots. Although Dave Meggett stood short at 5'7", he played like a giant on the field. No pun intended, but kind of pun intended. Meggett posed a continuous threat to opponents during kick and punt returns from 1989 through 1998. The guy had 3,708 total punt and kick return yards and 7 total special teams touchdowns. As a rookie, Meggett led the league in punt return yards with 582. The stats are cool and all, but the most unforgettable return by Meggett, the 68-yard punt return for a touchdown against the Eagles in 1990. He snagged the ball and dodged 3 players before zooming down the field. It was like watching lightning in action. Meggett stood out for his amazing quick moves. He'd come to a halt, zip off in a new direction, and pick up speed, all before the other players caught on. It was like you were playing catch with a human pinball, and he is one of the main reasons why the Giants would go on to win the Super Bowl in the 1990 season. Number 4, Dante Hall, the Kansas City Chiefs. Sitting at the 4th spot is an absolute dog, nicknamed the human joystick, Dante Hall. From 2000 to 2008 with the Kansas City Chiefs, Hall gave special teams a real headache. Every time he lined up to catch a kick, you just had to watch. Just look at his numbers. 12,397 total return yards, 12 kicks and punts returned for touchdowns, and an NFL record for touchdown returns on kickoffs in 4 consecutive games. The most unforgettable return by Hall? Well, that's a no-brainer. His wild 93-yard punt return touchdown versus the Broncos in 2003. It was like he teleported from one end of the field all the way to the other, leaving guys trying to tackle him just grabbing at thin air. Man, this was just like it was straight out of the old school Madden video games. When it comes to Hall's style, it was a mix of keen sight and quick speed pickup. This dude had this amazing knack for finding open lanes during kickoffs and the rapidness to make a break for it before anyone could close the gaps. Not to mention, being super sturdy on his feet made him a real pain to take down. Number 3, Gale Sayers, Chicago Bears. Sliding into the third spot is the one and only Gale Sayers. The Kansas Comet, also known as Sayers, suited up for the Chicago Bears from 1965 through 1971 and was the man in Chicago well before Walter Payton. Though injuries ended his career too soon, he influenced the return game. He holds the all-time NFL record for kick return average of 30.6 yards per return. Not to mention scoring 6 kick return touchdowns and 3,172 yards on special teams. It's tough to choose just a single moment of Sayers' returns as the best one, but his kick return of 103 yards for a touchdown against the Packers in 1967 is pretty hard to beat. He snagged the ball way back in his own end zone, dashed through an opening, and it seemed like he hit the fast forward button compared to everybody else. Sayers had that higher gear and stood out due to his unique mix of speed and elegance. He seemed to flow across the gridiron. His movements were so slick, he appeared to be soaring, not just sprinting. There's no doubt he would be higher on the list if he was able to play a little longer in the league. Number 2, Brian Mitchell, Washington Redskins, Philadelphia Eagles, and New York Giants. Nabbing the runner-up spot at number 2 comes the steady Brian Mitchell. Spanning his career from 1990 to 2003, Mitchell became a legend on special teams. His enduring presence and output on the field were downright impressive. He holds the NFL record for all-time kick return yards at 14,014 yards. Mitchell also racked up 4,999 punt return yards, earning the number 2 spot in all-time rankings, and he scored 13 punt and kickoff returns for touchdowns. Kind of like Dave Meggett on this list, Brian Mitchell was one of the best utility players in the league and played extraordinarily well as a third down back for his teams. But talking about Mitchell's special teams prowess and his best return, well, it has to be his 92-yard kick return touchdown versus the Cardinals in 2000. He dodged 5 tackles and kept in bounds along the sidelines. That run was pure skill and balance. Mitchell scored big due to his exceptional field vision and decision making. He always seemed to pick the perfect path and time his runs just right. Not to mention the guy was super tough. I mean, did you know that Brian Mitchell only missed 1 NFL game in his entire 14-year career? 1 game! That is absolutely unheard of as a running back and kick returner. Number 1, Devin Hester, Chicago Bears, Atlanta Falcons, Seattle Seahawks, and Baltimore Ravens. The number 1 kick returner on our list should be no surprise at all. This guy literally changed the game when it came to special teams. The top pick in our countdown is none other than the human highlight reel himself, Devin Hester. Let's face it, Devin Hester was a total game changer in the NFL when it comes to kick returns. From 2006 to 2016, Hester brought a revolution to how teams handled the return game. He was such a threat that rival punters and kickers would just boot the ball either out of the end zone or to the sidelines in order to avoid kicking the ball anywhere near Hester. Seriously, kicking the ball out of bounds on a kickoff just so the other team would get the ball on the 40-yard line would be better than kicking the ball to Hester in the back of the end zone. His team would gain killer field position even if he didn't get his hands on the pigskin. Hester has special teams records all over the place. 20 total return touchdowns. That's an NFL record. 14 punt return touchdowns. Another NFL record. Not to mention, the guy has 3,695 yards on punts alone. The most memorable moment for Hester has to be his kickoff at the beginning of Super Bowl 41, where he zoomed 92 yards for a touchdown at the very first play of the game. Just picture pulling that off with millions of people watching the big game around the world. Hester earned the title of the greatest at returns through a mix of fast legs, slick moves, and knowing just where to be. His knack for spotting the gaps and getting through them before they shut was like a reflex. Not to mention, he could dodge and head juke so well, players often grasped at nothing but air and broke their ankles while doing it. Devin Hester, Brian Mitchell, Gale Sayers, Dante Hall, and Dave Meggett all changed the landscape of special teams play and are the unsung heroes of that third side of the ball. They are the 5 greatest NFL kick returners ever, and we love them for it. Did we leave somebody awesome out? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and remember to hit that like button, get yourself subscribed, and smash the bell icon so our newest football content never slips by you like these kick returners did. Until next time, thanks for watching.